Great to have you listening in today. As with previous seasons, it is my hope that the guests and their stories that I get to share with you this season can provide you with the tools and or insights that you need to know that you can make it through whatever is happening for you now. And not only that, that you can have the life you want in whatever way you want that to look like. So let's get to it. I'm your host, Helen Morris, and this is the beautiful side of grief. Between stimulus and response, there is a space. In that space is our power to choose our response. In our response lies our growth and our freedom. That is a quote from Viktor Frankl, a survivor of the Holocaust and who is probably best known for his work, Man's Search for Meaning. So just how do you recover from a devastating event and go on to choose a response that will give you life growth and freedom? Well, you spend the next hour with my guest today, Victoria Rader, who is going to share some incredible insights and who has that quote boldly displayed on her You to Shine website. She did a PhD in metaphysics to understand better how we create our daily reality. Victoria is also certified in many energy healing modalities, success coaching approaches, plus she is a founder of the Empower-mE app, which will walk you through 90 aspects of grief. This transformational speaker empowers coaches, entrepreneurs, and people that seek personal development to grow in all areas of their life so that they have more peace, purpose, and prosperity. As a 4 times best-selling author, Victoria is globally recognized along with Brené Brown, Richard Branson, and others for creative and innovative ideas, adaptability in business, and contribution to sustainability and mental health projects with Career Global Award by Brains Magazine. Amidst all of these achievements, she is no stranger to grief, which she has known from a young age and continues to witness through her Ukrainian heritage. The intention I'm setting for today's episode is for you to have awareness that within you is the ability to find meaning in your grief and that you get to choose how you would like your life to look going forward by gaining an understanding of the interplay between the material and the spiritual aspects of our world. And as always, I'm sending you loads of love and thanks for joining us. A very warm welcome to you, Victoria. Thank you for joining me.
Helen, thank you so much for having me, for that beautiful, meaningful introduction that brought a feeling of spirit. I call them gut bumps right into the conversation. So I think we will co-create beautifully.
Thank you. Oh, it's always a good start when you have that beautiful energy flowing through between both of you. So, and I have to start this interview by sharing my heartbreak with what is happening in your homeland of Ukraine and how devastating this must be for you to be viewing from the other side of the world, powerless to be there to help your loved ones, family, friends, and colleagues still over there. So you have my heart.
Helen, first of all, thank you so much. We have experienced, loss in the family firsthand in the war. Something you said, though, I think will start off our beautiful conversation, the word powerless. I think that was the first reaction that I have had to what happened, and I think it's a normal first reaction for all of us when something happens that awakens grief. And that is, why did it happen to me? And the phrase "to me" is a place of powerlessness. And I think we slowly, and maybe this conversation will shape around it, we slowly say, despite what has happened to me, we don't deny it, it has happened to me. In what way has it happened for me? We reclaim our power of, okay, how has it happened for me? In my life, it said, okay, it has happened for me so that I can seek a way to grow and to do something for my place, and the true empowerment comes through. So how will I make something, change happen through me? And for me, it was, okay, I can't be there. How do I effectively raise awareness and money We launched a clothing line where all the profit goes to rehabilitate the soldiers and give, place for children, for orphans, and so forth. But I think what you said is very supportive of the journey through grief. You feel powerless when you keep thinking, why did it happen to me? So if you could just pause and say, while it happened to me, in what way has it also happened for me? And now, how can I shift what I do with this through me? And that's probably a path of healing right there.
Gosh, and this is why I am so excited to be speaking to you, because the way you just described that shift, from the words we use to using a different way of thinking about it, rather than it's happening to me, it's happening for me. And just that shift, and I say just, but it's not just at all. That is a huge shift in changing the energy and the consciousness and the awareness, and then giving us power to say, okay, what can we do? And this is exciting. This excites me to be able to explore that more in relation to grief. But before we do that, you created You to Shine, and I'd love to know the background of what led you to want to create this incredible website and organization, because it truly is a gift.
Well, thank you. What a gorgeous question. The journey out of darkness, right? That's what's created everything. I found myself in a place of my life where the circumstances of my life, wherever you look at, whether it was my health or my marriage or my finances, or you pick an area, it looked pretty heavy in early 2000s, and I was going through some very, very devastating losses and trials in my life. And I found myself at a point where it just felt dark. I had these two beautiful children, but I couldn't experience the joy of having them because it just felt so dark. And I literally was pleading, I was meditating, I was praying, I was saying, how do I get rid of this darkness? And since then, I have learned I was asking the wrong question. It's very important. Like for me, I have children, as I said, if there's anything that we're to remember from this, I think, is the question that you ask will create more of the similar reality. So for me, asking, how do I get rid of this darkness? The subconscious mind doesn't understand that. So it stays at the energy of darkness. You can run into the room with a sword and with a gun, and you can shoot at it, you can swing at it, you can scream at it. It's not going to leave. So it was really a beautiful thought that serendipitously occurred in the middle of the night that came, you've got to stop fighting darkness. You really have to turn on the light. And I literally saw an image of somebody walking into the room and flipping the light switch on. And then I asked the right question. I said, okay, how do I turn on the light? And that became a journey of a decade of finding out how to turn my inner light, how to turn the light on for my marriage, for everything. Shifting the question from why is there so much darkness to, wait a minute, how do I turn on the light? And having seen the miracle of the process in my life, I was able to then found a company on the basics of both practical, spiritual, and energy shifts that I've experienced, and I've seen so many of my clients experience, as a reminder of you to shine. That's very literal. You too shine. It's available for you as well. You too, meaning, if you look at the site, I'm very big on little m, big E. We'll talk about that. But those two, you're mortal and you're eternal, your matter, your energy, the two of those shine. And so that's how the company was born. It literally came out of darkness and into the light, and it carries the name with it. So
I love that. I love that so much. And actually, when you talk about the light and shining coming from within, and I was just speaking to a girlfriend who is perhaps carrying a little bit more weight than what she feels comfortable with, and she's been so used to hiding that. And then she posted this photo, and honestly, she is glowing. She is shining. She is just such a beautiful, beautiful soul. And I said to her, I am so proud, because there is not one part of you that needs to hide, and just step into this beautiful person that you are, and let what is coming from within be the change and what people see, because truly it's a beautiful sight. And I think we get so caught up in image and what we think people are thinking about us, and what we're saying and how we're saying it, and am I good enough, am I not good enough. And really what you've just said is powerful, because I think it's coming from not the conscious, but the subconscious, isn't it? You're
Very much so.
shifting what is subconsciously within you. So, can you explain to us how you can create those shifts?
Absolutely. An example that I often use, but I think it's so powerful of understanding of what the real shift is, because for a lot of us, there is this need to force it or to control it, and it's not what the shift is. The shift, ironically, lies in surrender. And so the best way I can describe it, when I was a little kid, I was about 5 years of age, and it's one of my favorite stories to share because it was so impactful for me looking back, not at the moment, but looking back. And I was playing, and I was looking to create a little hanger for my doll's dress. So I had a metal pin in my hair. I pulled the pin out and I put it in an electrical socket. And electricity back in Ukraine, twice what it is in the US. Let's just say if the fuses didn't blow, I wouldn't be sharing this story today.
Wow.
I just would. So the fuses blew, and I always say, and so did my grandpa that was watching me at a time, because, and so why am I using it? Because resistance in the fuses saved my life. Resistance saves our life. Resistance saves our life. Our brain is built to resist in order to preserve life. Doesn't know how to surrender. It just wants to resist. Now let's look at that same concept. There's the same amount of power, electrically speaking, coming to all the devices in the house. So the input of the level of power is the same, but the output is determined by the resistance inside the device. So the little tiny light bulb that is only 15 watts resists the power to the degree that it only shines very, very dimly, just enough for us to find, cucumber in the refrigerator. But the big 100-watt light brightens the living room. So you say, wait a minute, the power is the same, the output is different, it's the resistance. And so one thing I know is that all of us, without an exception, have access to the same energy of light, however you describe it, whether you call it universal love or God's love, whatever the language is, or just the energy of all life, we all have the same access to it. It comes to us and it comes through us. And the degree to which it comes through us is determined by our internal resistance to it. By those questions you were saying, right? Am I good enough? Am I really, all of that chatter inside, that is the fuse box. And so to me, that's the process of empowerment. You don't have to be anything more. You just surrender the resistance. You let go of resistance.
What a fabulous example. I love that analogy. And it's so key. Like, it was like a ding ding moment for me. Like, just when you were saying it, even though I know, it's still like, oh, yes, of course, that makes so much sense. Yeah. So, is this how we need to look at death in our life, because you mentioned that you can use death as a framework for the miracle of life.
Mm.
Share with us how that happens. Is it the same type of thing? It's how we choose, or how much resistance we're putting up?
Yeah, death has been a very close friend of mine. We're very comfortable with each other. We walked the path of life since I was a very little girl. At age 2.5, my uncle died tragically, and there was a very big imprint of that. And at 5, my grandpa, who was closest to and spent every summer with, died, and I had no explanation to cope with it. And it just kind of continued, also around that age, I was a witness to, without creating any images in anybody's mind, a very traumatic drowning experience where, and it just kind of continued on and on and on, building up to in 2013, in 1 year, I lost 11 people, where every month there was somebody who was either a family member or a very close friend or a client that was crossing over. So I really was invited to just truly sit with that, truly sit with it. And there were several very touching experiences that have happened throughout my life, but the one that comes to my awareness right now is my cousin in 2013. He was the third death in that year. Well, actually, I found about him as the second death in that year. And he and I were growing up as brother and sister. My biological brother is almost 12 years younger. And so I grew up with my cousin in Ukraine, where the first 7 years of my life, we lived in the same house. And he is only 2 years younger, really very close to him at a time. And so I found out in Ukraine that he had drowned. He was intoxicated at the time that he drowned. He had issues with alcohol. And so it was a very tragic death. And, I was at a point in my life where I just, I was comfortable going so deep into the darkness of grief, because I knew there was light, that I wasn't hiding from grief anymore. That there was enough happened.
So can we just explore that? What does the darkness of grief look like?
Yeah. And so, it's when you keep asking why. I want to talk about questions. You keep asking why. You ask, why did it happen? You ask, what could I have done to have possibly prevented it? The survival is going to raise its ugly head and say, did I cause or contribute to it in any way? What could I have done better? And the guilt of those questions suffocates you, and you're drowned not by a loss. We're not drowned by a loss of a life. We're drowned by a guilt associated with us thinking that somehow we could have prevented the loss. And so one of the things that I've come to fully understand is that the very second of us coming into this physical reality and the second of us leaving is a part of a gorgeous plan way beyond my understanding, but it is a part of a plan. Those 2 dates happen because a soul, a spirit, a divine being in physical experience that have come to be occupying that period has made a choice that those are the entry and the exit points. Just truly understanding that stops the internal control freak conversation that you could have, should have done something, and allows for you to then say, this was meant to be. What role has this gorgeous gift of a life has brought into my life? I now have the rest of my life to discover it and to honor that gift. And now you dedicate every breathing moment to that, versus being absorbed by the guilt of having tried to prevent what has happened.
So there are many, many people out there that go, okay, that is too simplistic. And what do you mean it was meant to be? That they were just here and then they chose to go. Well, I believe that. I personally believe that, because my daughter showed me that at the time of her death, she truly opened my eyes to say, she gave me the sign of a big checklist, and she was busy ticking it off. And I knew that there was something way greater than what I understood it in that moment to her dying. And that allowed me to step back and accept a lot more than perhaps I would have. And it was truly the most incredible thing I could do, because it enabled me to then honor her life and understand what it was all about. So I love that you're saying that if you step back and start asking yourself those questions, it takes you away from that guilt. But for those that can't see that, what would you say to them?
It's not time yet to see, and where you are is exactly where you should be.
Beautiful. I love that. Yes. So everybody's experiences are as they are meant to be.
Yeah.
And they are.
Because whatever, we come to experience this life to learn certain virtues, to develop certain beautiful side of grief, beautiful qualities of who we are. Those qualities can be developed to their greatest depth as we experience pain in life, right? We talked a little bit before we went live that I've come to understand that we're not to avoid grief. We are to allow to experience it, so fully. Why? Because it carves the space and soul. Let's think of it as the water carving a canyon. So then there could be a gorgeous river. And so if you are still carving, if you're grieving and you're not ready for hope or healing, so be it, because you're allowing for grief to settle in deeper and deeper. You will know when you say, I'm got it out. I have nothing more to give to this process. I'm got it out, right? And that's the moment when you say, that means I've made this room for the peace and for the comfort to start filling it. And with that peace and comfort comes a new purpose. And now the loss of life that you've experienced gains new purpose. And you no longer ask, why did it have to happen? Because you say, because it has happened, I have learned this. And because I have learned this, I am called to do this. And whatever this is, usually is aligned with your life's purpose and mission. And that's the process.
Wow. Yeah. That's beautiful. And I 100% agree, because as I mentioned to you, that my life is so much better in so many ways since the tragic death of my beautiful girl. But the thing is that I get to honor her each and every day, and I'm so grateful for the lessons I learned from having her in my life, and still continue to learn from her. And I could never have imagined my life transforming in that way, but as I allowed myself to sit in it, that is what transpired, and that's what I've grown from. So yes. But I also love the fact that you say that when people are not ready, when they're still going down in that depth, that is so totally okay as well. It's where everybody is at. Yes.
What comes in this description also that's very parallel to it is the concept we speak of faith. No, I'm not going to talk of religious faith. I'm going to talk of faith as believing there is life that continues, as light, however we want to define it for ourselves. But faith is a fascinating concept because it's compared to a little seed, and there's a kid's song, faith is like a little seed, if planted and it'll grow. And what I often think is that, okay, let's see what faith looks like if it is a little seed. So you put a little seed deep into the dirt. Okay, so this is how faith belongs. It is dark, it is cold, and you feel suffocated. That's the beginning of faith, and that is the end of grief. So just we're very clear, the end of grief is the beginning of faith. So you have no place to go, you're surrounded, and then the only way for the new growth to come out is that you have to break open. You can't hold the pain inside anymore. You break open. And as you break open, the miracle doesn't happen immediately. You break open only to find out it is dark outside. And then that little tender hope starts growing, and it has to go through a lot of darkness and tightness until it breaks through and sees a little bit of light. And guess what? It sees a little bit of light, and right away for the sapling, there is wind, there is rain, and you're like, dude, I just came out in the light here. Can I get a break? And so
Absolutely.
and that's the process of faith. And so yes, it gets easier, but not because life gets easier, not because loss gets easier, but because you have grown into a beautiful oak tree that is so unaffected by the bouts of grief, right? So that's the process. That's the process. And only you know where on that journey you are. Only you know where you are, and you get to honor exactly where you are. Because if you're a little sapling and you're wondering why you can't reach, and be above all other trees, it's just not time yet. And there's so much power in that phrase. You've got all the time you need to heal, so take it. Yeah.
Great. So as we talked about guilt that people experience around grief, let's also talk about fear. Because fear is something that will stop us in our tracks. That will, when we see that darkness being that seed in that ground, and we go, I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to go any further. Share your insights around fear.
Yeah, two quick observations. One is from my life, where I had to really come to terms with it. I had several miscarriages very late into pregnancies. And so when I did have my children, my son was so quiet that I would stand over him, making sure he was breathing, because that fear you describe of a loss was so imprinted in me. And I actually had to, and I take all my clients through this, I had to sit down and go through what ifs. Go through what if. My husband is 26 years older. I first had to go through what if. What if I lose him while children are still young? What if? And grieve through the process of what if to find myself at the end of the journey. And then say, see, little scared me, and I'll talk what it is, scared me. You will be okay. So why not let the sacred shine? And so I've done it for each child. And so the only way to heal the fear is not to punish it, but to love it. There are two parts of us. I call it the scared me and the sacred me. And the scared me has one job. The scared me has one job: to give the worst possible outcome and to save you from it. And it does job very well. And the sacred me has a very different mission. It has come to connect you to your life's mission and to expand through it in this journey. And so, in a nutshell, every single moment of every single day, actually, my client came to me and said, I'm not committed. And I said, no, you're very committed. All of us are very committed. You're just committed to your scared self. That's all. You look at the words scared and sacred, they're the same letters. And that little C is shifted. I call it the C of commitment. So the process of overcoming fear is loving your scared part so much that you're allowing for the shift from scared to sacred. So when you're scared says, don't go to that interview, you're going to fail it, you're nothing, did you not see what happened before? You get to say, thank you for caring enough. I love you. I got you. And I'm going to commit to the miracle to happen through me. And even if you're shivering all the way driving, you're driving from the sacred self. And so the fear of losing loved one, because we've all experienced other loss, can only be honored. And I call it what if. You just have to, we're so afraid to go there. But if we go there, we're going to find light there. We're going to say, even if I will have power to choose life and light and discover it in all of its aspects. So the greatest block is not the fear itself, but our fear of going deep into our fear. And so I would invite everybody, go into your fear until you connect to that light in it, because it's there.
Yeah, so we're going from that switched off light to that 50-watt light, eventually to that 100-watt light.
Yes.
Beautiful. Right. And all of this, when we look at our grief like that, in whatever shape or form that takes, that actually is a great foundation for empowerment, isn't it?
Yes, absolutely. Quite literally, because I was thinking the power comes to the house. It literally is empowerment,
Yes.
I haven't put it together too often, but here we are.
Yes. And when we're empowered, what does that look like for us?
We let our ego die. There is a very simple recipe for empowerment, because it is our ego that constantly keeps us away from being the light that we are, because we're concerned how we will be perceived or how we will be received, either by others or by our own harsh self-judgment. And so, but when you understand that the only part of us that can be hurt is the ego part, that the soul cannot be hurt, and that you are detached from the pain ego experiences, you can really be empowered, because you're not interested in how the world will react to you. You're only focused on what you can bring to the world. And it's the most freeing feeling. When you walk into the room and you're in the room thinking, what can I possibly bring to every person in this room in the best way, without losing myself, but being the most sacred me. And then it doesn't really matter. Eventually, it's a learning thing, how it is received, because you've done it. And if our conversation takes us there, I want to give us, actually, can I give it here?
Yeah, take it there.
Yeah, I want to give us 3 very practical yet spiritual principles that have gotten me where I am in my life and get me there every day. Whatever time you're listening to this interview, it's wonderful when it starts in the beginning of the year, but it doesn't have to. So I want to give you 3 questions that, if you commit to through love, without force, will allow for you to respond to life in a miraculous way. It's just going to be. So the first one is, you're going to ask yourself, what is your theme for the year, and allow for the answer to come through you. Whether you believe it comes to you through the source, through the universe, through God, through spirit, through your inner knowing. Just like I'm going to ask you, what color are you thinking about? You were not thinking about the color. Now it's like green, blue, red. We cannot not answer the question. And so when you say, what is my theme for this year? Allow for that to come through, either as a word or as a sentence. That's step 1. Write it down. Okay? Take 30 seconds, because we've got all the time we need to. So what is your theme? Beautiful. Okay. Now, whatever months of the year you're in, and then after that, every month, on the first of the month, you're going to ask, what is my theme for this month to support my theme for the year? Our left side will love the structure. Our right side of the brain will fill the answer. So if my theme for the year, for example, at a time of us recording this, my theme for the year is miraculous global expansion. It came through. I'm witnessing it. Great. What is my theme for the first month of January? Was laying loving foundations. Okay, that was my theme for January. My theme for February is persist. Very different. Do you see the difference? I didn't pick them. They were chosen for me. And so the third question is the most important one. And I would invite, for those that are wanting to participate in this miracle experience, to ask it as it is given, because it's been polished through thousands of client sessions. And the question is, and you ask it first thing in the morning. Well, you can pee, maybe even brush your teeth if you're an overachiever. But hopefully between the two, you get to ask, what is one decision I am to make, or one action I am to take today to support my theme? And you name the theme. So for me, let's say for February, I will say, what is one decision I am to make, or one action I am to take to support, to persist? And then 3 words, in the best, 3 concepts, in the best and highest, most aligned way. So today, in the best and highest, most aligned way. And then just pause. Be comfortable with silence. Just pause. And you will receive an answer. It can be no other way. Do not push away an answer you receive. If the answer is get a glass of water, it's get a glass of water. If it is call a producer, you call a producer. If it is call a friend you have not spoken for 25 years, call a friend. Trust the simplicity of the system. You will get that answer. And here's a beautiful realization. This is your one thing to do for the day. Everything else you have on your list, 900 things, are a bonus. It should give you chills. That's a bonus. That's stuff that doesn't really matter. That's ego stuff. Ego needs to be busy. And it likes to be dressed, so it has laundry on that list. But it's a bonus. So your one soul calling is, have a theme for the year, have a theme for the months, and have one decision or one action I am to take today to live that out. I promise you, at the end of the first month, you will look back and it'll be one of the most miraculous months of your life. And at the end of the year, you will look at how power has unfolded through you. And you will have accomplished so many gorgeous ego tasks that you'll be able to pat yourself on the back. Why? Because you're looking at them as a bonus. You're not stressing about them. And so you become much more achievement capable.
That certainly is powerful. And I can think of it like it gave me chills inside, and I could feel my whole heart moving, and with that energy, it was just so powerful. And I'm thinking that it doesn't matter what aspect of your life you apply this to, and even to your grief journey. If your theme for the year is to reach a place where you feel at peace with what has happened, and then have that monthly theme, and then that daily theme, and then by the end of the year, you are at that place where you feel absolute peace about what has happened. Oh, honestly, this brings tears to my eyes, because it is almost like too simplistic, but I think the beauty of it is that it's outside of our conscious, isn't it? It's our subconscious coming through, guiding us.
Yep. Yeah, we as human beings are so addicted to overcomplicating things, because once again, our sweet ego needs to know it earned the result. It worked hard for it. So we make it work hard, because if it hasn't worked hard, heaven forbid, we'll just receive it as a gift, right? We are so addicted as society to justifying the smallest of gifts, but do we deserve air we breathe? What have we done to deserve air to breathe? It's life. It's given to us free. And the life itself, And so a great part of what grief teaches us is the gift of receiving, because you cannot force peace. You can only receive it. And most of us who are grieving are givers. Givers grieve because we don't know how to receive comfort. We constantly give and give and give and give. And grief comes into our life as an invitation to say, pause, receive grace, receive comfort. And we have to make the harshest choice in our life to receive without justifying. That's the lesson for any soul that is grieving. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. So is this the sort of thing that you take people through in the Empower-mE app, and especially with
Yeah.
that grief component? Are these the types of things you talk about?
You know, I will
Share.
spell it simply because the app's been so beautiful that there are a lot of copycats. So the
Mm-hmm.
app has a dash in it. It's Empower-me, little M, big E,
Yes.
Empower-me. And the way that app was born is kind of miraculous in itself. I have to say, every book, every product, every service was there because I or somebody in my team needed help. We couldn't find it, so we created it. It was just it.
Mm.
And so what I found is that working with people is that you cannot release the grief you're unaware you have. You just
Mm-hmm.
can't. And I found that there were 90 aspects of grief, and a lot of them were completely subconscious. So what you've come to believe is a normal way to process life actually was a suppressed grief dictating how you react to life. And because you're unaware of it, the way the app is built, it is built to come into your awareness in an intuitive way. I'm actually going to pull it up because it's like a 30-second to do it. I'm going to click on that set in my grief set, and I'm going to ask for what would be the alignment of the emotion for us as a family here today. And we're going to see what comes up as one of the examples of processing the emotion. So what popped up is, oh wow, is validation of everything reminds me of my loss. So for a lot of us, the experience of everything reminding us of our loss is not something we would think to consciously address as a part of processing grief. You walk into the
Yes.
room, there are things, there's a cup. You see the cup that was held by a person you love, the TV, the remote control, the socks of your spouse that made you crazy all of a sudden are the most beautiful thing you find. And those are triggers. And so the first thing that the app offers to us is validate. Validation is very important. It's not affirming it into your life, it's validating it so you can free yourself from it. Everything reminds me of my loss. Then it offers a visualization. You would read it, it's very brief, it's several sentences. I'll read it. After you read it yourself, you would close your eyes and allow for the release. So this is how the visualization for this looks like. With your eyes closed, imagine as beautiful rays of light have washed over your life, removing heavy feelings of loss and bringing memories of joy of experiences you had. Imagine seeing things through joyful memories without pain or regret. Feel your lips relax in a soft smile as your heart fills with gratitude for the moments you had. And then affirm with your hand on your heart, I now remember through joy. I now remember through light. I am hopeful. I am me. So simple, but it filters your perception of experience. So now you see the cup. It's the same cup that represented a person not being there. It is now a memory that floods you and heals you. So I think it's probably one of the greatest gifts that I was able to offer through the experience of grieving myself. And I use it. I use it for me.
Sounds incredible. I want to ask you now what the little M, because we touched on it briefly earlier, but in your whole website, as soon as I searched you and started researching you, there was this little M and big E all over the place. So, what does that symbolize?
Yeah, when I say I am me in the app, and I would invite anybody going forward to be a reminder when we all say, that's me, that's just me. The little am stands for the mortal part of who we are, the matter part of who we are, the material and manifesting. And the big E stands for the eternal part of who we are, the energy, the essence that is expanding. And so then there's an invitation of living this life by surrendering your mortal to your eternal, your matter to your energy, your material to your essential, and your manifesting to your expansiveness. So it frees you to really step into this dual experience as one being that is experiencing physical life, but not at the expense of spiritual life. So that to me, little ambiguity, right, is everything that our company is called to do, and hence you too shine. That little matter, mortal matter of who we are, it shines to the degree we allow the eternal energy to shine through. That's the surrender, right? That's the surrender.
I'll never look at me the same way again. And you have surrounded yourself with the most beautiful people, haven't you? You know, when I look at it, I particularly love the way that you talk about them. So share with us now the types of beautiful skills you have on offer on your website, You to Shine.
You know, the way the business is been built, the way my life is unfolding is that little 3-question thing that I can give everybody, you know, that I gave. So many people have a vision, they pursue it, and I think it's wonderful. I've never been given a full vision until 7 years into my business. I haven't. It was, this is what you do today. And then you look back and you're like, wow, that's pretty cool. And so I wasn't going to build a team. But what happened first, I had a beautiful soul that saw one of my videos on YouTube, watched it for 2 years, and then came into my life and said, you know, I want to take a training from you, and the training was a bit expensive. Can I trade your training for revamping your website? And then the next soul came in and said, hey, your videos are great, but we can't hear or see you. Can I be a videographer? And slowly and surely, every single person that has come onto the team, every one of my coaches are my former students or clients of 5, 10, 15 years that have said, I'm so passionate about this part of what you do. Do you think I could contribute by doing it as a part of the team? And this has been miraculous how a team is formed. So we have, you know, an amazing Accept Me coach, Carolyn, who has had to come to terms of accepting who she was and her journey, and she's empowering people to do that. Delight Me coach, who's recovered from cancer, found light and hope and passion and pleasure, and she helps people do that. Our Dream Me coach has 20 plus years of psychotherapy of understanding your dreams. You know, our Lead Me coach teaches you how to lead from the heart because he's a heart guided leader. You know, Connect Me coach connects you to your purpose. We all have it. A lot of us are disconnected from it. You know, Breathe Me coach is our first hyperpressive person who empowers you to heal through the breath. So, but every team member and team is growing and it's expanding. And I know I haven't named everyone for the sake of time, but every single person that is a part of a team is a part of it in a most natural, empowering way. They're coming. We are creating products to hopefully empower people that can't always afford a higher end product. Like we have every Wednesday healing sessions at only $11 because not everyone can afford a $250 session. And usually it is those that can't afford it, cannot afford not to have one. And so both the app and the Wednesday healing sessions. So I'm at a luxury of having a team of people that are willing to serve relentlessly, you know, and that's one day, one question at a time. Yeah.
That's really special. And it's, as you were talking about that just reminded me, because I put it out to the universe that I, you know, want to find the person that can help me edit my episodes so that the sound, I'm not a sound engineer. I don't even profess to know what I'm doing with regards to that. And it's always the bane of my life. You know, I'm a solo podcaster, and guess who he came from one of my other guests and the most unlikely source, and he's from the Ukraine. And so that just happened this week. And so how powerful is that, that I've got this double connection happening, and I just think it's so divine, and it's so what the universe is, it's smiling on me saying, got you there. But I just think, oh wow, that's exactly what I was asking for. And I get this beautifully affordable guy that, you know, I feel is going to make a world of difference in my life. And I'm so grateful for that. So Victoria, I could just carry on having you share your beautiful wisdom and understanding of this life that we are living. However, I'm mindful of the time. So I'd love to just finish up with a few questions that I ask everybody. So the first one is, what is the best thing that has happened to you so far today?
Today, have discovered the meaning and the serendipity of life yet once again. I have a privilege of being on a lot of interviews, and there's a miracle of serendipity. Yesterday I was writing a chapter for one of the upcoming books on a healing journey, and I've redefined healing not as healing from something, but as a mechanism through which life unfolds. We're constantly healing. It's a process of life. And today, this conversation was healing. It was healing for me. It was, I believe, healing for you. And I believe it's healing. And so it just was such a gorgeous validation that, wait a minute, I don't need to heal from anything to receive healing. And that's an immense gift that I've allowed myself to follow my own advice, and you've created that space for it.
Oh my gosh. Lost for words. What a beautiful, beautiful soul you are. Wow, the world, you are a gift to this world. I'm just going to put that right out there. What is the thing that you are most grateful for?
My kids, both that have feet and the ones that have paws. I'm a proud mom of, in addition to my human babies, I'm a proud mom of the ones. I have human babies on both sides of the veil, and I have furry babies on both sides of the veil. And I think I find myself choking up with gratitude for them every day.
I couldn't agree with you more. When you're having moments in your day that are not going so well, and we have an expression here when they turn to custard, what is your go-to? I know I love that term. I have to keep using it because, it's so part of who I am.
I praise myself for being human. I literally tell myself, I'm so proud of you for being so fully human that you're just plain lovable. What happened in my life is that I remember my son, when he was about 2, he was eating spaghetti and he was putting spaghetti on his head and he fell asleep. And I was laughing so hard. And I think of myself, how many times a day I am messing things up so majorly that the universe looks at me and I'm with spaghetti on my head. And I remind myself, that's when I look the cutest, because that's when he looked the cutest to me. So I literally respond to it. Oh, come on, baby. You covered yourself so much with so much spaghetti. And, after sulking, I celebrate.
Oh, I love that. That's a great way to look at life. So, what would you like to leave our listeners with? Final thoughts.
That if you're going through grief, you're one of the empowered souls that have come to master joy, and that there's no wrong way to master joy, but it is your calling. And as you respond to it, you will see miracles unfold through you.
Oh, Victoria Rader, You have blown me away with this interview. I'm so grateful for you reaching out to me and for your time to do this interview today, for your vulnerability and sharing all those losses that you've had. My gosh. You certainly know what you're talking about when you talk about grief. And I'm so grateful that you could share it not only with myself, but more importantly with our listeners. So if you're listening in today, I hope you have enjoyed this hour as much as I have. So thank you very, very much. As always, we will have all the links to your website, to the app, and you've also got a free meditation that you're offering as well. So if you'd love to have access to that, would you like to share with us how people can access that?
I think, we've talked about the shift from scared to sacred and from, joy filling grief. And that site is very simple. It's choosesacred.me. Now we know why me. I'm a little addicted to me. So choosesacred.me. It's only 6 minutes. And it will restore your connection to the sacred hope and joy within. And then we'll pour that to all the scared part of you. And I do it as often as I'm called to. And you will find that every time you do it, you are having a deeper relief and a deeper understanding and a deeper love for you, and hence love for all. Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. So definitely go check out that app and that free meditation and the website. And it's so inspiring. You will not fail to be inspired by Victoria and her team and what she's doing in this world. So grateful to you, Victoria, for shining your light so brightly.
Thank you, Helen. Thank you so much.
Thanks for listening. I hope you got some real value from this episode. Let me know how I'm doing, or if there's a topic you'd like covered, by clicking on the Healing to Be You Gmail link or going to the Healing to Be You website. To get notified of new episodes, hit the subscribe button and please share if you know of someone who could benefit from this episode. Until next time, be kind to you and take good care.